speaking of language, I just saw an article a couple of days ago, maybe it had been a video on Instagram, of somebody who had used AI to be able to communicate with birds, to be able to recognize the bird songs and be able to communicate back to them. And I haven't dove into this yet, but it's truly fascinating. And it's fascinating that we went from nobody showing up for user groups 2 years ago to now Richmond being in the top 10 list of cities for AI talent. How do we get there? How do we get here? Phil, what's your take on why Richmond's been so successful in this space so far? Good morning and welcome to America's Healthiest City on ESPN Richmond 106.1, part of the Mike King Biz Media Network. If this is your first time on the program, please check out americashealthiestcity.com to learn about our 10-year community partnership to make Richmond, the entire region, the healthiest in America by 2033. It will take all of us working together on the same things to move us in the direction that we need to go. It is possible. And we hope you'll check out the ideas board to see what other people have submitted and see what it takes to become an ambassador. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the program today. But I am really excited about this virtually recorded program. This will be one of the first ones that we've done like this. But I have brought on today a group from AI Ready RVA, a new committee here in Richmond that is working to introduce AI into our community to prepare our workers for the future and to attract companies to the region so that we can continue to bolster our strength in this area. This is going to be a wide-ranging interview, and I'm super excited to get started. So I'm going to go ahead and dive right in, and I'm going to bring in our first guest. Liz Baker is the CEO of Nimbology, and Liz is a very intelligent person who has been in this space of AI for quite some time, really as early as you can get, and has been really gracious to share her time and her expertise in facilitating a workshop for us most recently for Empower Your Business with AI. So Liz, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks so much. I'm really glad that you invited me on here today.
Well, I'm really excited. Yeah, go ahead. Excited about the work we're doing. So please dive right in. Tell us what your background is here.
All right. So I'm the CEO of Nimbology, and one of the things we specialize is fractional C-suite services and AI integration. And so I'm working with teams currently to integrate AI, not necessarily into their systems, but actually to empower their workforce. So that's why I'm so excited to be part of AI Ready RVA, because that is exactly what I'm doing with these Fortune 500s, nonprofits, startups. I am a passionate AI advocate. What it can do, I live it every single day. I know how it can transform organizations and the RVA, so I'm excited to be a part of it.
Well, I'm glad to know you, and just glad to work alongside you in AI Ready RVA. We'll talk a little bit more about AI Ready RVA, but before we go further, I want to bring in a couple other guests here. I've got Alexander Whiteway coming to the stage. Alexander is the founder of Modern Ancients, and he is this is his second time on America's Healthiest City. So Alexander, welcome back. Thank you, and please share with the audience a little bit about your work at Modern Ancients and what your interest in AI is.
Thanks so much. Hi, Will. Hi, Liz. AI Ready RVA is a manifestation of a great effort to define better ways to align organizations. As a nonprofit, we hope to build out a center of excellence, and current stages of that development include committees focused on developing funding relationships, on AI education and learning, and community engagement. So we're really excited about driving this technological development from a very people-centric approach, and continue to realize the upsides and downsides of utilizing this technology. And we're excited to continue pushing the edge of policy even further down the road. So it's great to be here. Thank you.
Thanks. And we also have Phil Demetrio, who is another committee member of AI Ready RVA and has been gracious to share his time and participated in a panel discussion on K-12 and AI in the classroom earlier this year. Phil, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Will. Always happy to be here with you. So just kind of my background as well is, so professionally, my background is actually in strategy consulting and data analytics, and we do actually use a lot of AI tools for a lot of the work that we do, analyzing customer segments and competitor segments and things like that. But in terms of like my involvement, especially here in Richmond, I'm passionate about education. So I'm the founder of the Richmond Debate Institute, which started in 2018, fostering competitive speech and debate teams across Richmond. And more recently, also the founder of the Richmond Institute of Technology and Science. Both of those organizations are catering towards the future of K-12 education, project-based learning, and integrating AI into those. So excited to kind of talk about how AI can be used to really help the next generation.
Well, thank you for sharing that, and thank you for your involvement. I haven't revealed yet, but I'm also part of this committee for anybody who's listening, and I think we've all come together in an effort to make this happen and recognize that the things are moving quickly. So if we don't act together, very similar to what we're trying to do with America's Healthiest City, we have to align and get everybody else on board too. So I'm excited to get your insights on all of this. And I know that it is a fast moving train. So, let's start off with, just some of the basics. I mean, when did you guys first get introduced to AI, at least to your recollection? Either one of you that wants to dive into this conversation. And let's just kind of talk about the origins of it and where we've been since then.
I'm just going to jump in and say that I've always had an interest in tech. And of course, it sounds like all of us have had some backgrounds in tech. And so we're kind of, our radars were up for that kind of thing. But really, I got to dive in when OpenAI's ChatGPT went viral back in November, what has it been, almost 2 years now? And as soon as it came out, I knew it was a game changer. And that's one of those things we're up until 3 a.m, supposed to be working the next day. It was just like so excited about this new tech and what it could do, and how it could transform us personally and society. So that was my first deep dive. And then that led to getting involved in groups. So I ended up at an AI hackathon, and now I'm on AI Ready RVA committee and doing it as part of my business as the integration. So it's moving fast. I'm moving fast.
I'll ask a follow up there. What do you remember what your first commercial utility for AI was? Were you writing? Were you kind of brainstorming? What do you think delivered the earliest value for you from a business perspective?
I think early on it was, I'm the type of person who wants to test out a tech in every way that I possibly can. And of course, when OpenAI first came out with ChatGPT, it was very heavily focused on content creation and what that could do. So that was kind of the first thing that I was doing, seeing how I could create content both to support my business as well as my client businesses, and it not seem like it was coming from AI, right? So using it as an assistant, as a tool, and not as replacement for what I was doing, but adding my background and strategy to that to create better product faster.
And Phil, I see a lot of head nods there. Tell me about your first experience.
So my first experience with AI is actually before ChatGPT. And this is a bit of a story, and it's quite interesting. So this was in mid 2021. I was involved with my debate nonprofit work, and I happened to stumble across a research paper of a person using AI that can basically identify different types of arguments in writing. And it was his way of basically saying, oh, we can identify which sentence of a paragraph is the conclusion sentence, which sentence in a paragraph is the evidence or premises. And I thought, wow, this is really incredible. I mean, theoretically, you can use this technology for legal tech or even grading essays. And so I love that paper so much. I tracked this man down on LinkedIn, and he was doing his PhD at Carnegie Mellon, brilliant person. I was so interested in his work that I messaged him one day. I said, hey, if I were to come to Pittsburgh for a Saturday and just kind of have lunch with you. And he said, yeah, sure. So he gave me the privilege of kind of visiting him. So I flew out to Pittsburgh to meet this guy. And again, this is just a brand new piece of technology. AI was not in the narrative, but he showed me GPT-2 at the time. And I thought, holy crap, this is incredible. And at the time I thought, this is a technology that's going to be remaining in academia for much longer. You're going to really have to purchase a lot of these very expensive brains that work a product using this technology. He also connected me to IBM Watson folks that were doing natural language processing too. Again, I was kind of nerding out with some folks, just asking questions, trying to see if there was an overlap between AI and EdTech. About a year later, ChatGPT came out and it blew everybody out of the water. I mean, I already got an email from IBM Watson 6 months ago. At least they had a division in Israel that had to kind of shut down because there's just so much developing technology happening. One AI technology from one side of the world is kind of eating up the market of others. And so, yeah, it's just been a crazy exponential growth of how AI is not only can be used, but it's so accessible now across all these different industries. So that's my story about how I kind of got first introduced to AI.
Yeah, and we're going to take a quick break and we'll come back for you, Alexander. We've got a lot to cover here in 27 minutes, but for those of you listening out there, we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. This is America's Healthiest City on ESPN Richmond 106.1, part of the Mike King Biz Media Network. My name is Will Melton. I'm your host, and today we have Liz Baker from Nimbology, Phil Demetriou from Richmond Debate Institute, and Alexander Whiteway from Modern Ancients Journey Consulting. And we, just before the break, we were talking about our earliest uses of AI. I'll just say quickly that I was using it to write content and an interest to really kind of accelerate the efficiency of that, continue to use it for that, but certainly not unaided, lots of human interaction there. But Alexander, tell us about your first interactions with AI and maybe what was that first commercial value that you got to experience?
It was more of a movie value. If you remember in 2004 when iRobot came out, Will Smith.
Yeah.
No. I actually, my first interaction with AI was during my capstone thesis with BCU Brand Center. I was fortunate enough to work with Adobe, specifically within their department called Adobe Sensei, focused on AI and machine learning. And that was the first time, this was back in 2018, that I started diving in for about 6 months doing research into the field and understanding things like data lakes and how data is leveraged and algorithms that produce what we are calling artificial intelligence and machine learning. And also some of the nuances in place. One, when I hosted a survey group, nobody came at that time. Like nobody was interested in advertising in artificial intelligence. So that was interesting. And there's this sort of underlying bias inherent in the development of artificial intelligence that became a very clear sort of hang up in the field that leads to things like AI winters and these sort of disassociations with the value of AI that humanity has experienced through time. And I think it's very fascinating to recognize artificial intelligence as aggregates of the world's information catered to specific cultures, whether you're an organizational business enterprise or just nowadays, even singular entrepreneurs and small businesses are able to leverage the power of artificial intelligence. Right now with the large language models as a key focus area because of the complexity of international language and the diversification of cultural reference points that are what those algorithms are building upon, creates this interesting conversation where you're talking not only about language, but accessing other forms of language that aren't, verbal language like mathematics, and being able to apply language systems and natural language processing to actually engage in mathematical equations. So it's a fascinating sort of transition of unification of the right and left brain.
So speaking of language, I just saw an article a couple of days ago, maybe it had been a video on Instagram, of somebody who had used AI to be able to communicate with birds, to be able to recognize the bird songs and be able to communicate back to them. And I haven't dove into this yet, but it's truly fascinating. And it's fascinating that we went from nobody showing up for user groups 2 years ago to now Richmond being in the top 10 list of cities for AI talent. How do we get there? How do we get here? Phil, what's your take on why Richmond's been so successful in this space so far?
Sure. I think we are open-minded people here in Richmond. We want to go and listen to what others have to say and how they're using it. And I think that's kind of the reason why we're even speaking here. I think we have a great culture of being open-minded to new technologies in Richmond. So that's kind of the first. The other is that, and I see this as well in our schools, is that we have a lot of teachers, of students, administrators who are willing to hear to say, okay, well, how do we want to integrate this into our schools? And I'm sure on the private sector side, a lot of companies in Richmond are also doing the same thing. So I think it's the open-mindedness, it's the excitement for the technology. I think also the fact that we have a large portion of the population in Richmond dealing with marketing, media, arts, where AI could be especially useful. So our adoption is probably higher because of that, kind of our industry niches here in town. So all this to say, I think this trend is going to continue. We haven't even fully tapped into teaching AI in schools. So the next generation has yet to really equip themselves. But as soon as they do, I think this trend is going to continue to skyrocket. We should be in the top 5 or top 3, not just the top 10.
And Liz, I know your enthusiasm has been high in this. And for those of us who've really been not just early adopters, but really fast adopters, what are you seeing out there when you talk to other people who, you work to, get AI integrated with the businesses that you consult with? What are their motivations? I mean, and how are they feeling this urgency, or are they feeling like, hey, we really want to do this, we're excited about it? What's your take?
No, as a matter of fact, I think that there still is a huge resistance. As a matter of fact, I saw an article this morning that said that Gen Z, surprising to everybody, Gen Z is one of the lowest adopters, has very low adoption rates of AI tools right now. And there's a myriad of reasons for that. My point, though, has been all along that if we want AI to be something that helps humanity to flourish and thrive, that we need to have good people, ethical people who are actually driving how AI is implemented and helping protect both constituents and consumers through everything that we do. So my conversations, as a matter of fact, I had a workshop yesterday with somebody that I've kind of been working on them to see the benefits, especially for nonprofits and entrepreneurs who are kind of strapped for cash and resources, how this exponentially can help them grow, and how it's important for them to be a part of this conversation now and not waiting. So I'm not seeing, a lot of people still are hesitant to adopt. They start to get inspired, though, when they have conversations, when they show up to an AI-ready RVA workshop and they start to see how they might implement it, and they are able to bring their concerns to the table, and we can talk about those concerns and how we might address those. Then they start to relax a little bit and start to play around a little bit. And we give them the tools, and then they start to see how this really might help them grow. And as a matter of fact, Phil, you were talking about, Richmond. Richmond is a creative town. It's an entrepreneurial town. Richmond loves local. And so there's just kind of this entrepreneurial spirit here that exists, that I think that entrepreneurs are seeing this as like the tool of a lifetime.
Yeah, and Alexander, you were, kind of behind the scenes early on and seeing some of the things that were going on. So you've had the opportunity to kind of watch that evolution and see people start to catch on. And I think we're at about 70% or so of businesses have used at least one AI application. That's super fast, and it sounds like we're going to close the gap between the rest of the 28% here real fast. What's your take on the pace of growth and what the cause of that is here for us in Richmond?
I agree. Creativity. We are not one of the, we're coming on 300 years now by I think 2037. But at the same time, we're not as advanced as some of the other central cities. But we are in this process of developing under the Richmond 300 master plan, which is an internationally developed initiative to open up to how do local creativity campaigns influence the dissemination of a worldview. I think that's really sort of starting to open up with the accessibility of information that artificial intelligence allows for. One of the complications that I personally, and now with the companies that I do implement an AI-related build out of a center of excellence is typically how we approach that. There's a certain cadence, coherence, consistency, and craft of that process that's unique to the culture of each organization. And there's a speed at which the accessibility of information becomes either useful or not useful. And so we have to be very careful with the power that having access to the world's of information through the generations of internet build, websites, applications, like every way that we're harnessing data through unique filters of community engagement conversations is now available to synthesize a very quick response to any question that you might have. And I think, with every transformational change in society, it's smart to consider the pace at which that change happens so that everybody who's involved continues to remain connected to a greater understanding of who they are becoming and what it is that we have here. So a lot of opportunity, a lot of technicalities and difficulties that we're leading into now, and are excited to get more experts on board from companies like NVIDIA and Meta, et cetera. And even, all of us here, not all of us, but Liz and I are, local consultants, and the effort of individual consultants to leverage this advanced technology in a people-centric way is exactly the kind of motivations we need to help share the potential that it has in a way that's sensitive to those cultures.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this, opportunity to bring us together. I'm going to take a quick break and we'll come back and talk about the RVA community as a whole. You are listening to America's Healthiest City on ESPN Richmond 106.1. We'll be back here in just a moment. Welcome back to America's Healthiest City on ESPN Richmond 106.1. Glad to be a part of the Mike King Biz Media Network, and glad to bring this show to you each Thursday at 6 a.m. If you're not following us on socials, please hop over to @America's Healthiest City on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And we're back here with our group from AI Ready RVA, this volunteer committee of very intelligent people, Liz Baker, Phil Demetrio, and Alexander Whiteway. Thank you all for joining me here. And I really want to kind of focus our conversation a little bit more with the time we've got left on the Richmond community. I believe that we have a lot of potential to introduce a healthier community via AI solutions, whether that be protection and safety, or if it's some sort of innovations that we can introduce into society that help us in some kind of way. And before we left for the break, we were talking about the ability for AI to kind of bring people together. I mean, in this moment of uncertainty, we are coming together in a big way and finding these communities where we can gather and share knowledge. I'll open it up to anybody that wants to comment on this. What do you see as the future of humanity? It's a big question, I realize, but in Richmond, as we embrace this, we're not fearful. Other folks might be. How do we kind of leverage this moment as a way to continue to build that community and build a healthier community along the way?
Well, I think some of it is imparting vision, right? So we have competing visions. A lot of people have seen AI in movies portrayed in very negative ways. AI takes over, it becomes self-aware, and it takes over everything. And so that has generated fear. On the other hand, I like the movies like Marvel movies with Jarvis, or AIs that are companions to humanity that help humanity move to a better, more thriving humanity. And so I think that part of it is casting that vision and being patient with people as they move through a massive change. And this is a massive change for them, but continuing to bring forward the possibilities that it means for humanity. We've got a ton of opportunity to solve big issues, and AI can be absolutely instrumental in doing that here in Richmond and around the world.
So what are some ideas? Either you have some ideas that we can maybe pop onto the ideas board, small or large, that people could hunt down to think about how AI might help us with this pursuit?
Well, the one thing I'll add is that, with the creation of artificial intelligence will come the creation of artificial employees. We are going to feel much more like executives in our day-to-day life because we will have access to various bots and mechanisms that do a lot of work for us, whether it's sending emails, responding, or even sending reminders, automatically doing X or doing Y. I think a lot of people are eventually, in the next 5 years, will adopt these technologies because they're going to be such a convenience for them. And so a lot of people, are going to feel like executives, even if they are on a one-man team. I mean, there's been a running joke in Silicon Valley that, the people are placing bets as to when a one-person billion-dollar company is going to form, because a lot of people think it's inevitable with AI, right? So that is
I'd say it probably is inevitable.
Yeah, right. And so that's the one vision that I can definitely see happening very shortly, which is an individual can feel like a team because they're going to have a lot of artificial help. I think the next wave after that also is just the pace of change overall is going to become much, much faster. So already we're seeing this in pharmaceuticals and the hard sciences, deep sciences. This is having a huge change. I mean, right now we're talking about AI as a consumer technology, but it hasn't fully integrated into the enterprise world just yet, mostly because I think, in my opinion, the enterprise world has realized that they need to organize their own data if they're going to put an overlay of AI on it. So I think that there's a lot of cleaning for enterprise to do. But that's the next wave. It's for when these large organizations start to adopt AI. Right now, it's a fantastic consumer technology. I think the next wave is AI for business. And then I think the third wave, and again, these are just my hypotheses and projections. The third wave is a wave of robotics. It's where physical hardware comes in mind. For the last, I don't know how many years, technology has been able to figure out how to make a robotic arm, how to make robotic parts, right? We have the bolts and the springs and all of that. But now we're figuring out how to make the robotic brains. And that's the most important part. And so as AI gets smarter, these types of these AIs will be able to be integrated with physical hardware. And we're going to see a lot of both labor that is dangerous that we don't want humans doing, that robots should be doing as well, or labor that is just much needed in an economy that we don't have enough people to do. I think that'll be the third wave of AI. So a lot of waves coming.
I saw a meme online yesterday that said, I want AI to do the laundry and the dishes so that I can focus on my writing and artwork, as opposed to AI doing my writing and artwork so that I can do the laundry and the dishes.
Right.
So I actually decided to myself, I'll be an early adopter of those home robots when we've got them, because I agree with that sentiment. For those of you at home, this was America's Healthiest City on ESPN Richmond 106.1. Catch us each week at 6 a.m. Next Thursday. Hey, if you haven't tried AI yet, go open up ChatGPT. It's free. It's harmless. You'll be surprised. Thank you all so much for joining me today. We will catch you next week.
Thank you.